This is a heavily requested video that I personally have wanted to make for a very long time, and I'm excited that I finally got the opportunity to film it and to share it with you. Today we're going to be covering my favorite method for proactively teaching dogs not to steal food, and also how to fix it if you have a dog that counterserves. A few months ago, I shared this clip where I left my food-obsessed dog alone with a burger. I got a lot of messages asking me how I trained my dog to be trustworthy around food. Regardless of whether you have a new dog and you're just trying to train desirable habits, or you have a dog like Kiki that has a huge history of stealing food, I think this video is really going to help you. Kiki is a notorious food thief. She's taken countless things including chicken, a chocolate protein bar, 6 banana muffins all at once, various kebabs, pancakes, toast, pasta, and her favorite, butter. If you've watched my Leave It tutorial, you'll recognize Kiki as the dog that I filmed that video with. She's great at listening to the Leave It cue, but she steals any food that she's left alone with, and she even tries to take food with people sitting right there next to her. Leave It is a really powerful cue that I think all dogs should know. However, I don't always want to have to micromanage dogs and tell them what to do. Kiki? You can see by these clips that even as I set up my camera, Kiki would check what was on the counter and she'd need to be told leave it. If there was anything on the counter, she tried to get it. Leave it. Kiki is really good at listening to that verbal leave it cue. However, my ultimate goal with dog training is always to move away from needing to micromanage them all the time and instead train them to make desirable choices on their own. That's what this video is going to do. I'm going to show you the entire process of fixing countersurfing step by step by showing you the actual training sessions that I had with Kiki. At the end, I also test to see if after a couple training sessions, she can be left alone with her favorite food, which is butter. Before we get to the actual training steps, there are a few important things that you need to understand. I know how tempting it is to jump ahead to the training, but these few minutes are really going to help you be successful. First, dogs repeat what works. I previously made a 4-minute video that goes more in depth about how dogs learn, and I'm going to link that in the caption, but for this training, you need to understand that dogs are quite simple. Dogs repeat what works. If they've been reinforced for a certain behavior, they're going to try it again. If your dog has never taken food in the past, you're able to progress through these steps a lot faster because you're building the only reinforcement history that they have. However, if you have a dog like Kiki that has rewarded herself many times by going up on that counter, you're going to need to progress more slowly. Chicken is a pretty epic prize for going on a counter, so she learned a strong lesson by taking that food. My job is to build a strong reinforcement history for the behavior that I want, which is Kiki choosing to leave that food alone on the counter. There needs to be something in it for her if I want her to repeat that behavior. We have to reward what we want our dogs to repeat. Very commonly, I'll hear dog guardians talk about what they don't want their dog to do. Don't jump on the counter, don't steal the food. I strongly encourage you to try to think of it the opposite way when you're training. What do you want your dog to do instead? In this case, I want Kiki to be able to be around food but keep her paws on the ground. For tall dogs like Kiki, I like building in the habit that if they're in the kitchen, they're either sitting or lying down. Sitting is an incompatible behavior with jumping on the counter, and it's the way that I commonly teach. You'll notice in any of the clips of my dog, she's sitting if there's food around. I trained that as an automatic behavior when she was a puppy, and I'm going to do the same thing with Kiki in these training sessions. The second thing to remember is that you'll need to use management. While you're training this skill, it's really important to prevent any access to your dog stealing food. We don't want them to self-reward for their very behavior that we're trying to change. I made a video explaining management in more depth, which I'll also link in the caption. What you need to understand for this training is that your kitchen counters or any other area where your dog can access food need to be kept cleared off and clean while your dog learns this skill. If I'm trying to eat less cookies, I'm going to have a lot more success if they just aren't there in the first place versus if I'm trying to use willpower. No! It's very unlikely that your dog's going to be able to resist taking that food yet, so it's really important to make sure that that option's not even available. And third, teach your dog the leave it cue. It's really important to have a verbal leave it cue trained for this. Leave it. I use it in the initial steps when I'm teaching Kiki what I want her to do with the food on the counter, and also as a backup in case she does decide to try to take something. It should only take about a week to adequately train that leave it cue, so I strongly encourage you to do that first. I'm going to link a tutorial for how I train it down in the caption below. And lastly, you're going to need a bunch of tiny treats, a treat pouch, a loaded marker word, and a dog that already knows how to sit. I keep the treat pouch on my hip so that it breaks any sort of association of that reward coming from the counter during this training. I find that this makes the rules much more clear for the dog. We've covered all the required preamble, so let's train Kiki to stop stealing food. Step 1 is to train an auto sit in the kitchen. My favorite way to train this is to toss a treat out of the room for the dog to go get, call them back over to you, and ask them to sit. Reward them for sitting, then toss another treat out of the room. I like to move to different spots in the kitchen to help them understand and generalize the skill. Repeat the process at least 15 times so that your dog really understands their new game. After that, when your dog comes into the kitchen, don't cue them to sit. Instead, wait for them to do it on their own, then mark and reward them for sitting, then toss another treat. Yes. Again, repeat this about 15 times so that your dog quickly offers an auto sit in various spots around your kitchen. Okay. As you progress through the training steps in the upcoming days, it's also a really good idea to do a few warm-up rounds of these easy steps at the start of each new session. Step 2 is food on the counter, but cueing the dog to leave it alone. This time, when your dog comes into the kitchen, I want you to put something relatively boring on that counter as you say leave it. I often recommend starting the training with something undesirable like lettuce so that it's easy for your dog to leave it alone. For now, we want to make sure that whatever we're putting on the counter is less rewarding if they take it than the treat that they would have gotten for ignoring the counter food. By doing so, you're making the habit and choice easy for your dog. Repeat the treat toss, sit, and cue leave it sequence about 10 to 15 times to make sure that your dog understands. Yes. Leave it. Yes. Again, as you progress through the steps on upcoming days, make sure that you go through a few repetitions of steps 1 and 2 as a warm-up with your dog before progressing to step 3. Step 3 is there's food on the counter, but we're not going to tell the dog what to do. After your dog has gotten good at the cue leave it, I want you to phase out that verbal cue and start building a strong reinforcement history of your dog making that choice on their own. After a treat toss, I want Kiki to come into the kitchen and both sit down and leave the counter food alone without me telling her to do either. Yes. Yes. If she ignores the food on the counter, she gets rewarded. Make sure that your dog is really good at this with lower value items, then progressively choose things of higher value while repeating steps 2 and 3 with each new food. Yes. Okay, Kiki, leave it. Yes. If she tries to grab it, I simply cover it or say leave it to prevent her from taking it. Leave it. Yes. Then I practice a few more repetitions while I cue her. Okay. Leave it. Afterwards, I progress back to this step and I stop telling her what to do. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. As the middle value item, I like to use the treats themselves on the counter for training because then you're practicing leaving an item of equal value to the reward itself. Once that is easy for your dog, progress to step 4. If you're enjoying this video, I would really appreciate if you'd left a comment to let me know. I would also love to hear in the comments what training issues you are struggling with or which videos you would like me to make next. Step 4 is slowly increasing the distance. Using the same treat on the counter and as a reward, I now want you to start adding in some distance. Take a step back so that your dog is closer to the counter treat than you are, then mark and reward them for either 1, not taking it, or 2, walking away and following you. You'll see here that I do multiple rounds of reinforcement for ignoring that item before I toss a treat into the living room to reset and start again.
Yes. 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 Yes, good girl.
That was a hard one, hey?
Yes.
The ultimate goal of this training is to be able to leave your dog alone in a room with that food item. Therefore, them either sitting there patiently waiting or choosing to walk away by themselves are both desirable options that deserve a reward. Step 5 is practice heavily with increased distance and duration. With that same item, practice repetitions where you either walk farther away or you stay away for longer durations, therefore giving your dog the opportunity to take it. It's really important to progress slowly here since it's much harder for you to intervene if your dog does decide to take it. We don't want them to self-reward for making an undesirable choice.
Yes. 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 Good girl. Yes. Yes.
For filming purposes, and because I wanted to demonstrate the entire method, I progressed faster with Kiki than I would recommend that you do at home. It's completely okay and actually encouraged if you spend a few weeks on this step. Step 6 is repeat these steps with a higher value item than what you're using as the reward. At some point, there's going to be something on that counter that's higher value than whatever you have. It's important to build a strong reinforcement history of your dog choosing not to take these really awesome items so it becomes a habit for them not to take them. Again, this is why I can trust my dog with something like a burger when I leave the room. It's a step that we've practiced a lot. To do so, work through these steps with progressively higher and higher value options. Kiki's ultimate choice is butter, so I wanted to see if I could get to the point of briefly being able to leave her alone with butter, which would be a massive improvement. She wants it so badly that she actually tried to steal it initially, even when I was standing right there. Can Kiki be left alone in a room with butter? Let's see.
Kiki, leave it. Yes. 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 Good. Okay. Yes. Yes. Very good.
Kiki? Yes. Good girl. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Very good. Yes.
Yes. Good girl. So am I saying now after a couple training sessions, I would trust Kiki alone with a butter dish for long durations? 100% no. Kiki has a really strong self-reward history. I didn't undo that entire history with just a couple training sessions, and neither will you if you have a dog like her. However, with practice, she can absolutely get there, as you can see from her progress with just a couple sessions. Through repetitions and practice, you can train desirable behaviors in your dog without using a single correction. You just need to remember that there does need to be a reward for desirable behavior, and that it's up to you to manage their environment to prevent the food stealing while they're learning this difficult skill.
Yes.
Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions and if you have any requests for videos that you'd like me to make next.